Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan, your host here at Quick Bird Gaming. I appreciate you tuning in for this episode of Quick Bird Unscripted. As with all my other unscripted videos, this is off the cuff. I don't rehearse it. I don't do do-overs. So I will try to stay on subject and not babble too much, but no promises. It's just the way it is sometimes. I also will not edit anything out. This is going to be one take, and I may edit in a few still images when I go to post it, but that's going to be about it. Okay, so anyway, from the title, we were going to talk about Pragmata. Now, Pragmata, if you were unaware, is a new IP from Capcom. It released on April 17th, so as of the time I'm posting this video, not quite 2 weeks ago. It is an action-adventure, third-person, over-the-shoulder perspective game. It features a astronaut or engineer named Hugh, who travels with a couple of companions to a lunar base that is doing some remarkable 3D printing with something called, I think they called it lunafilament. And while they're there, there's a moonquake, and he is cut off from the rest of his team. They're all vanished, and I never did figure out if they died or not. I haven't played the game. I've just watched some streamers play bits and parts of it. And anyway, and then while he's there, he gets awakened by a young girl who's actually an android. And, young, probably 7-year-old, blonde-looking little girl. She's an android. He names her Diana, which she seems to like. And then the rest of the game is Diana and Hugh trying to figure out what's going on and to escape the trouble there. Because she is an android, Diana is able to help Hugh hack into enemies, machine-like enemies, and in systems through a live-action hacking sub-game that's played while bullets are flying and everything else. So that's kind of the gist of it. And this game, it's done quite well. It sold 1 million copies in its first 2 days, and I imagine by the time I post this, it's probably creeping towards 2 million. I haven't seen that yet, but I just didn't expect that. It's gotten a lot of good play. Generally, for gameplay, it's been considered pretty solid. Most people that I know personally that have played it have said they enjoyed it. It is sitting at 97%, I think, 96% or 7% on the Steam as a positive rating. 97% positive ratings or 96. I'll check it when I post. But and I haven't looked at the PlayStation Store, but I imagine the rating is similarly high. Excellent scores for a game. Like I said, it seems to be not perfect, but pretty solid, and another banger for Capcom this year. Okay, now putting all that aside, now we kind of got the facts of the game aside, there have been some really, really odd reactions to this game so far. Some of which have made me smile and shake my head, and other of which have just left me flabbergasted. Most of the people, like I said, that have played it have enjoyed it, haven't been any problems. However, there have been two groups which I think have had very disproportionate reactions in opposite directions, and I'm just kind of confused by the whole thing. On the one hand, I've seen a bunch of mostly male gamers who play this, and they say, wow, this makes me want to be a father. The relationship that Hugh develops with Diana is kind of a paternal one, where he wants to take care of her and he's concerned for her safety and everything, even though she's not an actual life form. But that's kind of how it develops. And people have been inspired by this to say they want to be a father. And that kind of makes me scratch my head, because, the game shows a lot of the good of having a child that age, not necessarily all the bad. And, having children I think is a deeply personal decision, and I think it's something that everybody should think about to decide if it's right for them or not. As a father and a grandfather, I will say that having children can be very rewarding, from top to bottom. However, it's not always easy. It is a lot of work, and you shouldn't let your impulses run away with you to do something based on something you saw like this. I mean, that's the same type of attitude that leads people to get a puppy at Christmas because they're so fluffy and adorable, and then hand them back to the shelter by summer because they're older, no longer cute, and they didn't realize how much work it's going to be. Now, I mean, I'm going to assume that a lot of these responses I saw along these lines were hyperbolic, that they literally weren't ready to go out and become a father immediately. But it was a very common sentiment, and I was really, like I said, I was kind of surprised by it. So maybe I'm reading too much into that. As a subset of that group, I also saw a bunch of, again, mostly men saying to, like female streamers, "Oh, I bet those ovaries are tingling now." It's kind of like, I hate to use the word cringe, but it is cringe to go down that road. Whoops. Again, with women as well as with men, it's a decision you have to make to have children. And while I know a great many of women who have had children and they think it was the greatest thing on earth, I know there's a lot of women who didn't have them, didn't want them. And even if they enjoyed a game like this, that didn't mean they necessarily wanted to run around and get pregnant immediately and start becoming a mother. And for people to say, "Oh yeah, like I said, I guess those ovaries are ready to go now," just stop. It's just embarrassing. You leave it alone. Even if a female streamer plays this game and has a strong reaction to it, because Diana is cute and adorable and the story tugs at your heartstrings, it doesn't mean anything. So just stop with that kind of nonsense. Okay. Then on the other hand, there have been a group of people who have seen this and have had what I would only refer to as a batshit insane reaction, saying that if you play this type of game, especially as an adult male, that clearly you have some kind of sexual interest in Diana, that you are a PDF file type of individual, or a degenerate, or a gooner, or whatever buzzwords they want to throw around for this. And I just, that's astounding to me that somebody makes that leap, because I think if you see an adult man and a child and what is very clearly a paternal relationship, and your first thought is that it has to do with some kind of sexual objectification of the child, that's a self-report. You probably need your hard drive examined at that point. That is just so ridiculous to even go there with that kind of that being your first baseline thought. And I've seen people, I've seen, it's been all over Twitter, and yes, I agree. Twitter is a cesspool. So is most social media. I understand that. But I see all the arguments of people saying that men don't have paternal instincts except for their own children. And if men show interest in a child, it's got to be for creepy reasons. Well, that argument is not even worth having, because it's on its face, it's absolutely absurd. First of all, in the real world, there are hundreds of thousands of stepfathers out there that consider their children to be their own and treat them as such. There was no lineage, it wasn't their blood, but they still consider that child to be their own child. Yes, I don't give me that there's some stepfathers that are terrible. Yes, there are plenty of terrible people. That does not, obscure the people that are good and doing good in the world. There are many stepfathers who absolutely consider their non-blood children their children, and that's not creepy. That's called being a father, and it's called having paternal instinct. And men actually have paternal instincts, and I get really weary of this discourse that men are unemotional robots that are pretty much only interested in beer and sex. It's so reductive and it's so stupid, and it's just born out of a complete, absolute, intentional misunderstanding of what men are. Not only is this something that blatantly occurs in the real world, this is not even original in entertainment or even in video games. You can look at classic literature like Les Miserables. I'm pretty sure Valjean took in Colette and protected her, even though it wasn't his child. Silas Marner, that is pretty much the entire plot of the book. You can look at movies like True Grit or The Professional. There are plenty of movies where this kind of thing happens. Or you can, even in video games, there's BioShock and Death Stranding and The Witcher. These are all games where an older, gruffer man shows a very protective instinct towards a smaller, weaker, more helpless child. and takes care of them. It's not creepy. It's not degenerate. And like I said, frankly, if that's your first instinct on thinking that, you're probably somebody who actually dislikes men. Or you probably, like I said, you're self-reporting so loud, people need to be looking at you. So anyway, it's just amazing. I haven't had a chance to play this game for a variety of reasons. One, I got a backlog that's extended to hell and back that I am swearing I'm going to get through. That's the first reason. Second reason is I still have a hard time forcing myself to buy games with any kind of DRM on it. It did come with Denuvo. So I will wait it out for a while. I mean, I have no shortage of things to play. So I haven't played it yet, but I just found this discourse around this absolutely fascinating and somewhat disturbing, because you have these two people on the opposite ends of the spectrum barking about this game means this game means that, and you know, if you disagree with them, blah 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 blah. And then while the rest of the people are kind of in the middle going, man, I just want to play a good game. And by all accounts, from what I've seen and what I've read, the game is good. It doesn't have a lot of technical issues. It runs well. It's not necessarily groundbreaking or transformative for the genre, but it's just a good, solid game that gives people their money's worth for their time. And frankly, sometimes that's all we need. You know, Sigmund Freud said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Meaning not everything has to have a deeper, underlying, hidden, meaning to it. Sometimes things are just what they are on the surface. And I think in the case of Pragmata, it's just a good, well-made game for people to enjoy. And the people who are trying to turn it into either a dog whistle for people who like children in the wrong ways, or are suggesting that this is single-handedly going to revitalize the birth rates in the West, y'all are all nuts. Looney Tunes. So anyway, that's just my thoughts, my brief thoughts on Pragmata. I said during the last news episode I'd talk about it. I didn't want to weigh down the news with my babbling. I kind of wanted to talk today about Sony and their DRM that they're putting on the PS4 and PS5 games, basically saying if you don't log in within 30 days that your games could become unplayable. But maybe we'll get to that later. Maybe I'll do another Unscripted in a day or two. So anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for listening. If you have a perspective or a thought on Pragmata, drop it down in the comments down below. If you let me know. If you think I'm wrong about the people that are pushing this as, you know, like I said, the savior for our birth rates, or as a blinking neon sign for the PDF types, tell me what you think. So I never get mad when people disagree. I just like I always say, I like video games. I like to talk about video games and all the issues and discourse around them. So I appreciate y'all listening. I have more videos coming out. I really got to get off the stick and finish a couple of things that are half done. And I'm always going to be around on Sunday mornings with more Quick Bird news and wrap up the week's gaming news. So thank you once again. You all go out there, live your best lives. Y'all stay gaming.